would say what's important, what I think matters in this conversation. I would say that, yeah, I was hooked basically after that reading. I didn't, not like I decided to be a professional astrologer or anything like that, but I was like with everything with me, once I'm hooked on something, that's it. Like there's like deep dive and no stopping. So like all the books, like not all,
Is
of course I
that some
didn't all the
like
books.
like is there something in the chart that indicates that
Oh
like
yeah.
what
Yeah.
would that be? That like
Well, mostly Jupiter in the ninth house,
okay, yeah,
Sagittarius rising, and Mercury in the 8,000, well, Sun as well, in the eighth house. So
okay,
the learning about the occult, the looking for deeper meaning in
yeah,
things, stuff like that. So, but just, I'm a learner, you know what I
right.
mean? Like I explore, I learn, a lot, so I've always been like this. Like I've always loved that, my first conscious thought ever must have been why. Like, or maybe I like, if I did in fact have a thought as soon as I left my mother womb, it probably was like, why? Like,
Why?
why? Like, why the fuck am I here?
Why am I
I
here?
was like, yeah, who
Who
is
are these
this?
people?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so basically I was hooked and I started studying it like
Okay, yeah.
crazy on my own,
Okay.
So I
Yeah.
read a shit ton of books. I've read different, but more the philosophy, more the theory, not so much
Right.
like the technicalities, not so much at that point,
Mm.
like,
So
the
yeah.
aspects or, yeah, what?
Yeah. So you were just like you got so hooked, like you said, you weren't interested in making a career out of it. You were just so
No.
fascinated by it. Or
Oh my God, even at that point, if you told me that I would eventually become a
yeah,
professional
yeah.
astrologer, I would be like, you're having a laugh.
Yeah.
You know what I
Okay. Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Yeah. No, definitely not. But I was there was no stopping me at that point. I was like, I
Yeah.
was, I had to know
Yeah.
everything about it.
Yeah.
But I still didn't see it like as a potential professional career. And honestly, I don't remember how that even became a thing. I
Oh
can't
yeah.
remember. I just remember that at some point I was like, okay, now it's time to learn the technicalities.
Right. Were you busy
So,
working then, like still in the academia or what?
no, I was out of the academia and just doing
Okay.
like one-on-ones.
Okay.
Um, and so, I mean, I did bits in academia, but not as a sociologist, but I taught like workshops
Okay.
of a style that's like, I don't know, if someone's in America, they'll know more maybe, and connected to academia. There are these two guys that created this course called Design Your Life. So I
Okay.
kind of, which has been really incredible, helping students like just figure things out. And
Right, right.
I don't want to go into this, it's like a
Yeah,
massive other
yeah.
topic, but basically I created something similar, and
Yeah.
it's actually based on those courses slash workshops, um, that it was basically like helping people navigate life,
Right.
but bringing the knowledge of thought created reality into it
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
to
So you could
help them
use
deal
stuff
with
like
mental
that. Yeah.
health. Yeah, so
Yeah.
there was quite a
That's cool.
gymnastics
Yeah.
around trying to combine it in a way that, in particular, that I was told, please, nothing woo. And I'm like, okay. And actually the woo turned out to be the most helpful part of all of those
Mm,
workshops. So
makes
actually my
sense.
first book
Yeah.
was inspired by those people that I taught and
Okay.
by those workshops,
Okay.
because I realized I this is when I realized many years after the first awakening that how impactful, I forgot how impactful that knowledge is for people, because it
Yeah.
became such an
Yeah.
ordinary thing for me,
Yeah.
that we live in a thought created reality, and like you don't have to buy into your thoughts, and your moods are not an issue, and you're not
Yeah.
like fucked up just because your moods are changing or something like that. Um, and literally the students pretty much came up with the title,
Oh, really?
and yeah, and they said they said you basically helped us, how did he say? He said to avoid the midlife crisis. And because they were all in their 20s,
Yeah.
and then he said, and you made sure that our lives don't suck, something like that. And so the
Right,
title of the
right.
book was How to Make Sure Your Life Doesn't Suck. So it sounds
Yeah.
like a very self-help kind of title, but it's all about the thought created
Yeah.
reality,
It's like hidden in
so
there. Yeah.
so that came out of that, so this is the kind of stuff that I was doing.
Yeah.
um and then at some point, I don't even remember when exactly, I was like, okay, let's learn technicalities. So I actually wanted to, like, seriously now really learn how to do the birth chart,
Right.
and how to read the aspects, how to do the transits, and
Yeah.
things like that. So then it I don't know how I couldn't find an astrologer that I could resonate with. So I didn't
Okay.
know. So for me, it wasn't so much even which house system I was going to go with. I was looking really for a teacher that I resonated with. And if I
Right.
resonated with the teacher, I would resonate with the house they used. Like, this was, I
Yeah.
think this must have been
Right.
my logic. And so eventually I found a teacher who was actually into Bhakti yoga,
Okay.
very much dedicated to this stuff, which he quit since. But very wise guy, very, very wise guy, very, very spiritual, but not in a kind of funny enough. And it's kind of funny because when I met him and I realized that he was into Bhakti yoga, I knew it was not his thing.
Oh, really?
I could feel such a mismatch because I knew he was deeply spiritual, but I knew that there was a mismatch between who he was personality-wise and the Bhakti yoga and the whole community. And I didn't even know the guy. And I just knew that. I knew it straight away. And he quit after 2 years. The community and the whole thing, because he even adopted a name. Like, they give
Oh,
you
yeah.
like the different names and stuff like that. So I was right because I'm amazing.
Yeah, right. Did
I'm not that was, I didn't even have to look at his astrology.
you
It was
just
just
knew
pure
it?
intuition. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
incredible.
magic.
You should just forget
Yeah,
about astrology. You don't need it.
yeah. I can't really find humility in my chart, but yeah.
It's a big red X where humility
Yeah,
is supposed
which
to be.
which I really should be because I have Saturn in Virgo, so I kind of should be really, but no. So I resonated with him. And he was teaching Hellenistic slash
Right.
ancient astrology using whole sign system. And so I basically signed up for his courses. And I just immersed myself in that. And I actually did test. I tried the different house systems and looked at other things, and it was just like, I don't know. To me, it was just so beautifully clear and simple, the whole sign system. And as you know, by now, I love simplicity in everything, so
Yeah.
that just worked for me. And then at some point, at some point, but even before I did that, I was already doing astrology for people with what I knew.
Oh, really?
But I just wasn't charging for it,
Okay. Yeah.
and then I started bringing it to, like, with the people that I worked with as well.
Yeah.
I would look stuff up,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so people was like, you're natural. You're like, you're really good at this.
Yeah.
Why you're not charging for it?
Yeah.
Um, but I think that even when I signed up for those courses, I was like, I don't think I was still thinking that I was going to, like, do it seriously and charge for it,
Right. Okay.
I was just, like, going with the flow of, like,
Yeah.
whatever,
This is what you're interested in. Just
Yeah.
pursue it. Yeah.
Um, and then I thought, okay, I think I could really do this. I think I could really do this. But then I booked a meeting with an astrologer, another astrologer.
So is this only like your second reading, or?
It was my second reading, but after
Okay.
many years, I booked a reading to, like, see what he's got to say. And that's the guy who said, what do you mean do astrology? You are astrology.
Oh,
You
right.
know what I mean?
Okay.
It's like
Yeah.
literally, right? And so that's, he was, first of all, he was completely not surprised. He was like, how did you not do astrology
Yeah.
before?
How did you
You know what I
escape for
mean?
so long?
Yeah, how did you escape for so long? And he was just, but yeah, I could, so I don't even, I have, there are some incredible astrologers out there that are so knowledgeable. We're talking people who have been doing this for like 20, 30, 40 years, and they will tell you that they're still learning. You know what I mean?
Right,
That's
right.
how vast this thing
Yeah.
is,
Oh, yeah.
right? And then it's like you get comfortable with certain knowledge, and then you look here and you look there and you look
Right.
there, and there's like so many directions you can go and so many things that you can add. And I think what fascinates me is like I've tested also, not for me to do, but I just wanted to have an experience of it, like the human design. I don't know if you've heard about that.
I've heard of it, but I don't know much about it.
Yeah, I don't really know much about it. I don't really have a good understanding of it. So
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna go there to like
Yeah.
confuse people who listen to this. But what I see is like I was amazed to see, and I think we talked about it a little bit, where I've had an experience with someone who does human design. So this is also kind of like personality
Yeah.
oriented modality that takes into account planets, archetypes and
Okay.
stuff like that. I had readings with 2 psychics like over the years,
Oh, yeah.
and astrologers. And honestly, there's like different things that they said, but there's a whole bunch of things that they said the same things
Oh,
for
yeah.
different people, for different modalities.
Yeah.
And I realized that it's almost like, in terms of like, it's all the same. It's all like
Yeah, yeah,
connected,
yeah,
so
yeah,
to
yeah.
speak. You know what I mean? It's literally like listening to 4 people who just use different language
Yeah.
to talk about the same thing. You know what I
Yeah, I
mean?
know what you
Or
mean.
that
Yeah.
points you to the same thing.
Yeah. So what was it
So
that they were saying, that all of them?
I mean, there's like lots,
That you
like the
should do
fact that
astrology or what?
the astrology is definitely there, but it's like, that basically I'm in a supportive role, like for
Right.
humanity, and that
Right. Right.
they're all of them spoke about me being a healer as well, which
Right.
is quite
Right.
interesting because that's definitely not where I've been yet. Like I've
Yeah.
not even explored that stuff.
Yeah.
But literally all the psychics that I've been to, the human design, the astrology, the tarot readings that I had, everything, they're a whole bunch of things, and healer was one of those things. And
Yeah.
again, I was told, don't think about a healer
Yeah.
in like this hands-on or like
Yeah.
this in
But
this one particular way, because even
yeah.
just, how some people are so, I'm not saying that, by the way, that I'm one of those people. I doubt it. But like, there are some people that have such a vibe that when you hang out with them, it's sort of healing in a
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. 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 I think you are.
Right?
Sorry.
So
Sorry to burst your bubble.
no, but I mean, I did hear, I've heard several times, throughout my life, people saying that they just feel good just by hanging out
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
me, even if we're gonna talk about the weather or,
Yeah.
like whatever, have a laugh about something. So yeah, for sure, and
Yeah.
that's amazing. I mean, if I can do that without any effort, I mean, how
Just
amazing
be
is
yourself.
that?
Yeah. Exactly.
Only how much is the question,
Yeah.
is the only question.
But don't you
But
think like also the awakening facilitation work, like that's like helping people to heal in the sense that they're not suffering as much through doing that work, like in my eyes that would classify as healing, like.
well, that's
Yeah.
the thing, is I think it's mostly because I so don't think about this stuff,
Yeah.
or how am I healing, or how should I heal,
Yeah.
or should I just don't think about this stuff. But this is actually a really great point, because you're right. There's
Mm.
so many people who I'm seeing, for example, and I'm not even talking about people who are particularly spiritual, but
Yeah.
they basically come to see me because they're suffering and then they want to understand what the fuck is going on,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? and why they're suffering.
Yeah.
And for many people to even just see that this is not their fault,
Yeah.
that there's nothing, I didn't realize how certain things that to me are just a given.
Yeah.
That, you're not fucked up even
Yeah.
when you think you are, and you're not broken even though you think you are, or somebody
Yeah.
told you, right? To me, this is like such a given, because that's how I
Yeah.
see every single person.
Yeah.
Um,
But that's, I think, sometimes the most healing thing for anybody to
right?
hear is someone to tell them
Right?
that. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. To
You're
not
so
need to
right about
be
that.
told that they need to be healed anymore, to just have that kind of space. So I think definitely that healing that's probably
Yeah.
what's busy playing out,
You're so right about that. I
Yeah.
didn't think about it in those terms, that
Yeah.
alone, to have that realization, or someone saying, hey, you're really not as fucked up as you think you are,
Yeah.
or you're not fucked up at all, in fact. It's just
Yeah.
that here's what happened, and here's why you're acting that way, and
Yeah.
here's where the issue is, and here's why you're struggling,
Yeah.
So and here's how you can, go about it, or like, whatever.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so definitely. So this is definitely one of the
Yeah.
it could be healing, like, there's you are one of the few people that like listen to a conversation, the two conversations I had with Angela.
Yeah.
And a few people said, oh my God, when I heard this aspect of your story,
Yeah.
that felt so reassuring to me.
Yes,
That I'm like,
exactly.
oh, I'm
Yeah.
not the only person that has gone through that
Yeah.
this way, or
Yeah.
had that, that experience. I mean, isn't that beautiful? Like, you
Yeah,
know what I mean?
exactly. So that's the
So
thing.
yeah.
Yeah, it was helpful in my journey as well, and like helped me to heal in that
Mm,
sense as well. Like
mm,
just listen to your story, and then the books as well. Probably like if you think when the books come out, that's gonna help people, all of that as well. So yeah.
Oh, the first book was that. I'll tell you what, when the first reviews arrived from
Yeah.
from the first book, this was really interesting, because the title was How to Make Sure Your Doesn't Suck, and it was kind of aimed. I mean, I can't say that I had like a target audience, but it was
Yeah.
kind of aimed, because it was inspired by people in their 20s and
Mm,
30s, early 30s. I thought this is who this book was for. But
mm.
actually, there are tons of people in their like 50s and even 60s that read the book, which
Oh
really
yeah.
surprised me.
Yeah.
And if you went to like Amazon.com, the first review, I think it's a top review. It was the first review that came. Oh my God. I think I sobbed for
Oh
like a
really?
day. Yeah, oh my God. I just couldn't believe, because this woman, she didn't just actually write the review. It was almost like a letter
Mm.
about her story, and about what that book meant for her, and how her and her husband were reading in the evenings, parts of it before going to bed. You know what I mean? I was like,
Mm.
oh my God, are you kidding me? And
That's
it's like,
incredible.
and so I know for sure. I think at this point, if there is a healing role that I have, I think it is mostly about helping people embrace
Mm.
themselves as
Mm.
they are,
Mm. 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 Mm.
with their perceived fucked upness, and
Yeah.
whatever they think they lack, and
Yeah.
whatever they think they are screwed up
Yeah.
about, or whatever, and I think that, and you mentioned that too, there's such an amazing and I actually didn't I think I'm only discovering it now, that the power of just being the open space,
Mm.
non-judgmental space, for someone to just be able to unravel, or to just openly say the things that they wouldn't say
Yeah.
to anyone else,
Yeah.
to say things that maybe they were ashamed of saying,
Yeah.
or feel that, like, including like, like some people would think like horrible things,
Mm.
or
Mm. Mm.
that they might feel like saying, but they would never say it,
Yeah. Yeah.
but they finally have someone who is just giving them the space to say it out loud, but like without judgment, and things like
Mm.
that. So I think, to be received fully by someone like that,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that in of itself, I think, is such a you know, such a healing thing, speaking of healing. So
Yeah.
so maybe it's exactly that you know,
Yeah.
spiritual teacher doesn't have to fit the stereotype of a spiritual teacher, you know, the
Yeah.
healer does not have to fit
No,
the type,
exactly.
whatever type we have, or stereotype, you know,
Yeah.
of what that means. Yeah, so that alone is just
Yeah.
pretty fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I'm thinking of like where we're going with this.
Yeah, so well, I was kind of um
I think you wanted to talk about how I work with people in terms of like,
yes, I want to, yeah, that's something I definitely want to explore, but maybe we can do that as like well, I'll definitely split this because I think it's quite long already, but I do
yeah.
want to do something where we dive into how you use astrology in tandem with like awakening and or just helping people like that, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So like honestly, I can say it without going for too long about
Okay,
that
cool.
because
Yeah.
so basically, because again, with astrology, you can go in so many directions and
Yeah.
focus on so many different things. I somehow ended up, I actually discovered in my own journey how astrology actually can help when it comes to inquiry. You know
Okay.
what I mean? Like, it's like, I didn't even, to me, this was like, oh, here I'm doing astrology and here I'm exploring non-duality and the awakening stuff. It's like the two are sort of, I didn't kind of see how these two can work together. Not because
Yeah.
I have any kind of issue, like so
Yeah, it
many
just you
people do.
hadn't made any
It just at the
connection
time,
there.
I just didn't make a connection.
Mm.
So it was kind of interesting how that sort of revealed itself. Like, because you know, with astrology, this is so important for everybody who becomes an astrologer to actually find their thing, you know, to find what is it, you know, their you know, their type of astrology, the particular stuff that they want to focus on, maybe even particular areas. You know, some people focus on couples, love, relationships. Some people
Right, right.
focus on business. Some people, you know what I mean? There's like so many different types. And for me, really, it became very clear when I realized that how massively important part of the awakening journey is seeing the wounds that we have that developed in childhood, and then to see the coping mechanisms and the patterns that play out in the adulthood.
Yeah.
Right? And a lot of it is really something that's so deeply ingrained, and I know that not from books, but like literally from my own
Seeing it play out.
like experience, you know, seeing
Yeah.
that play out. How much of it was, you know, I've talked to someone about the awakening journey recently, and I said to him that for me, the so-called transcendental shifts were massively important, obviously. But quite honestly, the dark night and the stuff around my wound and the patterns was literally equally important. Not less, not more. It was equally important as those shit. And I honestly I don't think I would have had what I called, I'm not saying that I've arrived and there's an end point and there's whatever. And I'm waiting for some, you know,
Yeah, I'm waiting. Where's the
I'm waiting
halo?
to beam with light. I mean, I do have a halo, you know what I mean? Like, but like, you know, the permanent one where I will
The
walk
one
and
you
like, yeah,
take around with you. Yeah, so everyone
beaming
can
light and
see.
all of that from,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's coming.
No, it's coming, I'm sure.
Yeah.
You know, and I was saying that, you know, this really, I don't think I would have had the sense of completeness, what I call like a sense of completeness, right? In the same way that I talk about like the pregnancy, that you have stages of pregnancy that basically have to happen in order
Right.
for birth to take place. You can't
Right.
be semi-pregnant, and I mean, you can have premature birth. Okay, if someone wants to be super, you know,
Yeah, we're
anal
gonna
about
tear
this,
apart your
and
pregnancy
yeah, and
argument.
like tear my whole metaphor up because, you know, so they can feel good about themselves. Basically, you get the gist. You know, there's stages of pregnancy and they have to happen in order for birth to happen, right?
Yeah.
So it's the same. To me, it's the same with the awakening journey. I
Yeah.
don't think I would have had that sense of completeness had I not gone through, had I not experienced not just the shift, but also had gone through the pain of the dismantling of the identity.
Yeah.
And that included the shadow work and looking at the patterns and coping mechanisms that only were exposed after the experience, what I call the experience of emptiness,
Right.
and the dissolution of a sense of separation. That's when literally I call it like something went upside down. It was like upside down. My life turned upside down in that what was completely unconscious turned around and became conscious. So I was just seeing things that I've never seen before, like the various coping mechanisms, but mostly like very controlled patterns of behavior, controlling patterns of behavior, manipulations of all sorts.
Right.
That was so well disguised and so subtle that there was just no way.
Yeah.
I talk a little bit in the book, because again, I'm telling you, I'm so glad that I wrote this book, because honestly, there's at least some kind of a record of stuff that I've been through, because there's just so much that I don't genuinely remember, anymore. Because I know that there was a period that so many things became conscious for the first time, but I don't remember all of those things. I just remember that over a period of a few months, there was a whole lot of stuff that made itself. No, but to give you an example, like there was a pattern, for example, that stemmed out of my, let's say, body issues, health, self-hatred stuff, and blah, 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 that didn't just affect me, as it turned out, but also affected my partner.
Right.
For years. And I would, and I didn't know that. And it was, for example, I thought I was caring in that I was like vigilant about his weight. I was vigilant about whether he put on weight, whether he go to exercise, and did you have to have another bacon slice, and blah blah blah. And on a surface it looked like whatever, what's the big deal?
Yeah, that's the type of stuff we don't see, like
but actually that was massive, because it was actually a controlling behavior disguised as caring.
Right, exactly.
So in my mind, I was genuinely caring about his health. And it's not like there was no truth to it. There was truth to it as well. That
exactly.
I was genuinely caring. But it became a noble disguise for basically I had such fear of putting on weight.
Right.
That he's putting on weight would trigger that fear. So I had to control that he didn't.
Yeah, exactly.
So that it wouldn't have to freak me out. You know what I mean? Because it's like, and then I think, the fact that I even had that I had body issues, I knew my entire life. Okay, the weight issues, the body weight, the weight issues, looks, whatever. That I knew, but I never met the core from which all this stuff came out, you see. And it's only when I saw that was like revealed just through sitting with the discomfort, that I realized that I had a whole bunch of self-hatred that I wasn't aware of.
Yeah, right.
And
I also had a couple months ago, just like this intense self-hatred, and I was like,
massive.
Where does it come from? It was insane.
And again, you'd think, oh yeah, I already know that, but because I mean, if I were to count how many times I stood in front of the mirror and say, oh fucking hell, you know what I mean? Like, I hate what I'm seeing, like I hate my body or something like that. I probably said it countless times throughout my life.
Yeah.
But that's very different to actually realizing that there's a massive self-hatred going on and actually allowing yourself to feel it for the first time. And of course, who the fuck of the same mind would want to do that?
Terrify most people to sit in that. I was like, want to that
It's
kind of thing that
horrible.
makes you want to shoot yourself in the head, like that
Yeah, exactly.
intensity of hatred, you know. Yeah.
So I'm not surprised, if someone is like, fucking hell, is that what Awakening's about? Like, I'll have to like I mean, honestly, I wouldn't blame you if you were like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm out. Like, I
Yeah,
wouldn't
yeah,
blame you, because
exactly,
I mean,
exactly.
who the hell of the same mind wants to sit and like
Yeah.
in self-hatred,
Yeah.
and just be fucking
But
suffocated by it,
for me, I think like the important thing to point out there for people is the freedom on the other side of that. Because the
Yeah.
thing is, you're carrying it around with you all the time in any case.
All
Like
the
that's the
time.
thing.
Yeah.
So it's like
Yeah.
affecting all of your decisions, all of your
Yeah.
relationships and
Yeah.
everything. And then it's like,
Yeah.
sure, it's fucking terrifying and so intense, but to not have to carry that around with you into everything anymore, it's like, wow, I didn't
Yeah.
know how big a deal that was, you know.
Yeah. It's massive. And I was shocked when that came out, because
Yeah.
of all the things that I could think that I had issue with, or like, in terms of like even emotional stuff, self-hatred would not be on the list. You know what I mean? So it really,
Yeah.
so it, not because I loved myself so much, but but like
Yeah.
really, no, it's just like, and anyway, at that point, I was like, I kind of like myself. Okay,
Yeah.
like I still
Yeah,
don't
exactly.
look the way I want to look. I will fucking forever be unhappy with where I should be fitness wise and my freaking muscle composition and whatever bollocks, But it's just like, now it's like irrelevant. It's just my thing. It's just sort of, whatever. But it's very different when something incredible happens, when the core, that in my case it was like that self-hatred, is met, because it's not just that one pattern dissolves. There's a multitude of patterns that come out of that, and the emotional grip that things have. So like, to give you the stupidest example, since we're at the body issues, right? Like, for example, before that thing dissolved, before I sat with my self-hatred, and actually I was completely, when I say feel it, I was completely consumed by it. Like, I mean, I felt it so fully. There was no gap between me and self-hatred. There was just self-hatred. And then, like you said, to the people who are listening, I know it sounds horrible and it sounds so putting in, who the fuck would want to do that? I get that. But like the freedom on the other side of that is just incredible. And it doesn't even necessarily mean that certain patterns are not going to play out anymore, because so many of those patterns have been on autopilot for so many years. But to give you an example, let's say I would look at myself in the mirror, and let's say I didn't look the way, or I put on weight. Oh my God. You know what I mean? It would be emotional unraveling. It would be like, talking to myself, like horrible, like, oh my God, you let yourself go again. Like, the whole thing would have such a massive emotional grip. And then all sorts of, really unhealthy behaviors, because being on those diets and like starving myself, and like also, and I'm talking just patterns related to the body, not like all sorts of other things.
Yeah.
Whereas now, I sometimes catch myself, let's say in the mirror, and like,
just get rid of the mirror, Maggie.
I need to get rid of the fucking mirror. That's a good idea. But like, I mean, how easy is that? But honestly, I noticed that recently, that I look, and even though because I have my fitness goals, you know what I mean? Because I love to move, I love to move. I love to actually have fitness goals, because it's motivating to me.
And it makes it,
like a challenge,
Yeah,
and it's just,
I'm with
it's
you.
actually, when you look at like my chart, this is very much part of my makeup, that's part of my personality, that I actually have to move my body. I cannot not move my body. But I also have to change things. I have to like pick challenges and things like that, to like, it has to be fun. It has to be interesting. Yeah. But this is very different now, because now it's like for fun. This is now to like push yourself, and like, it's something that I really enjoy, as opposed to this being like a punishment, or I'm doing this so I lose weight, so then I don't have to hate myself.
Yeah, exactly.
And, you know, things like that, right?
Because you're like running from something, then it's like this, it's so intense because we have to get away from that self-hatred,
yeah,
you know?
Yeah. So you'll do a whole lot, you know?
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, what's gone, it's so I still have the commentary,
yeah,
you know, about, oh God, like I thought that after like 4 months of slaving at the boxing gym, you know, I would have been a leaner by now, for example. You know, but that's as far as it goes.
Yeah, and it's light,
doesn't
right?
go,
It's like it doesn't have that heaviness.
there's no emotional,
Yeah.
it's just an observation,
Yeah.
like a commentary, and that's it. And that's what
Yeah.
that's where it starts and that's where it ends. It
Yeah.
doesn't translate into a whole kind of emotional unraveling and all sorts of other things.
Yeah, exactly.
Coping mechanism with that, you know?
Yeah.
So I would say that my work primarily, so you know, you listen to people and they're like trying to figure out their wounds or trying to figure out their patterns. And I'm thinking, oh my God, like you could literally look at the chart and it's right there. Like, why
okay.
it? Like,
okay,
why wonder?
Yeah, that's powerful actually to figure it out. Yeah, like the chart can show you. So what did yours say stuff about that, or what?
Yeah, so again, it's going to be very different to different people, you know, I don't have one birth chart reading that is the same, you know, because
makes sense.
Again, I meet people where they're at, you know. So I'm honestly, I'm not interested if someone is spiritual or not, or they had an awakening or they didn't have an awakening. It honestly is completely irrelevant. I just meet them like, okay, you're suffering. Okay, let's you're suffering. Let's look at it. Let's look what's behind it, you know? So usually, you know, I do the birth chart. So then we look at, I usually start looking at, I mean, we talk about, of course, we talk about things like, you know, some things to do with personality, you know, some things like the things they were naturally drawn to. So like, you know, someone can, like recently I had the reading with someone who went toward academia, but really the whole chart is taking them into like artistic pursuits and something completely opposite. But they went into academia because that's what they thought was expected of them.
Yeah. So it's
and
like, why is that happening?
Artsy stuff, you know, no. So like they have still a barrier to go in this direction. But it's where they're pulled anyway. You know what I mean? So actually a lot of stuff that happens with readings is hearing people all the time saying like, I have a confirmation of what I've already thought or knew or felt. Which is another proof that it's like it really works, because I'm not in a way, I'm not really telling people what they don't know. I'm just kind of confirming something that maybe they already deep down know. But they maybe are afraid to kind of admit that or to go there. But there comes a point where they can't kind of avoid it anymore. So they come to me and, you know, it's like that. So
and I think like it's just, that's exactly what I feel in what I do with people as well, is like that's the most helpful. I was just thinking back, like I had a session with somebody today and it was like really all about like just somebody knows what they like, they have all these kind of feelings, but then we get caught up in our own doubts and our own kind of fears and uncertainties and all of that. And I feel like that's often the most, like, I think that's the best, because otherwise somebody's trying to project their own thing onto somebody else, you know, whereas it's like, no, you have all the answers, but what is stopping you from like really trusting that, you know? Or like, what?
I mean, I'm very, the thing that really amazes me, because that the kind of people that I meet, you know, it doesn't matter where they're at, whether they're, like I said, they're into awakening or very spiritual or not spiritual at all, is that they're all, and this is important to me, because anyone who would want to come to see me for a birth chart reading, but they just want to hear the good stuff about themselves, they should never book a reading with me.
They're gonna have a horrible time.
Like they're gonna have, yeah. They're like, if you're looking to like just, me to schmooze you and tell you how wonderful you are and amazing on all fronts, then definitely not a person to. I'm just saying, just in case, someone might consider it. But it's important, and I say it on my website as well, because I'm actually primarily interested in the ugly, the so-called ugly, the shameful, the things that the shadowy bits, the what I call the shadowy bits, because I truly believe that that's where the juice is.
Right.
That's where most freedom is. You know
That's
what I
where
mean?
all the freedom is.
Yeah, so I can, of course, I if I see something amazing, and of course I'm gonna say no, like I'm just there to like torture people.
Like you're doing well. You think you're doing well, but have you seen this? Have you
like
seen
with
this?
like how could you? No, there's none of that
I'm
going on.
canceling next week Saturday.
Yeah, cancel. Yeah, I really recommend that you do.
Yeah.
Not good for narcissists. No,
Oh,
definitely no narcissist should be booking reading with me, please. I mean, unless they want their identity to be dismantled
unless they like
in like 2 hour session, like no problem. No, I'm kidding. Like believe me, there's a narcissist in all of us.
Oh,
it's very well disguised. But what I'm saying is that I've been lucky in a sense that the people that come to see me, I don't think I've had one person that like left offended or like
nice,
or like just, or maybe they were but they didn't inform me, like I mean, but usually I can sense, like at the end of the session you can kind of tell if someone is like disappointed or whatever, right? But I genuinely have not had anyone complain or feel like offended or like I crossed line. Not that I know of anyway, like I said.
You haven't seen the Maggie G subreddit where there's like all these kind of reviews of... But don't go to this astrologer.
But I say, but it's equally important. I always say, that and I think speaking of that healing bit as well, that honestly there's not an ounce of judgment in me toward anything that I'm seeing in the chart, no matter how horrible, and I could have never not have that had I not gone through being, annihilated to the ground by my own shit. You know what I mean? Being exposed. And so that, because I've gone through it, I have zero judgment left.
Exactly.
So even if I wanted to, I actually can't. I just there's zero judgment left in me, or me being on some kind of a pedestal or thinking that I'm not to mention that because I've had awakening, that I'm somehow saintly or whatever, better than you who didn't, or like none of that nonsense. It's the opposite. I would say it's the opposite.
It
since the awakening is literally the opposite of that.
It literally is. But I mean, that's the thing, right? So when I got interested in astrology after kind of listening to you, and then I was like looking at things and I was like, yeah, but I really want to work with you, because how many astrologers are going to be able to tie in that, like, well, but just because there's always going to be something there, right? Until somebody's completely like been annihilated, there's still going to be something. Like, that's why I think it's like, I don't know a lot of astrologers, but I was like, there's only one that I know that that has been through all of that, because like you said, I think that's for me, that's such a huge thing, is that like that foundation. And then it doesn't really matter like all of the other things. It's like that when you're looking through somebody's charts or you're doing the inquiries or whatever, it's like that's what makes it so powerful, is that it's that all that judgment is gone. Whereas otherwise, there's all these projections and ideas and kind of, what's right and what's wrong. And like, I feel coming through in any profession, I guess, like in any profession.
And that is, and that is another, it's kind of funny because Hellenistic / ancient astrology is kind of slightly orthodox, and it has these kind of fixed ideas around, you know, certain planets. Like it even divides planet into like benefics and malefics. So
Okay.
like this is like, you know, this is like bad and
The
this
good
is
planets
good.
and the bad
Yeah.
planets, yeah.
Whereas, you know, and I have no problem with that, because I understand where that comes from. You know,
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
it's just, to me, this is nothing. But again, just like with everything, you know, you can either fixate on this and treat this philosophy, the way you see those planets, as like fixed, and that's the ultimate truth, that
Yeah,
Saturn
yeah.
is this, and
Yeah.
you know, Jupiter is this, and you know, whatever. For me, it's nothing but a frame of reference. I understand why those planets are seen that way.
Yes.
But honestly, and I'm not going to go into like, because this is like massive topic, not, and even I don't think that this would be of interest, because now we're getting into like very kind of nitty-gritty of things. But I would say that awakening has definitely affected two things in my work. One, my intuition has always been there,
Yeah.
but it's like on steroids.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I must say that some people may find it to the point of being uncomfortable with that. You know what I mean? Because I cannot not say things that are there. You know what I mean? And
Right.
so like, for example, expose somebody's greatest fears, or like the very thing that someone wants to avoid, you know, things
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And again, I always do it lovingly, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Always, you know, it's
Yeah.
not like I want to like make somebody's life,
Yeah.
you know,
Break them down, or
break them down or anything.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, and again, I will find the ways to talk about it, because if I see someone who's like super sensitive, I'm not gonna talk to them the way I would talk to you, for example.
Well, I'm super sensitive. What are you talking about?
Like I'm like straight, you know. No, I'm kidding, but just punch, you know, uppercut, hook. That's anyone who's into boxing, which I am.
Oh, that's making sense.
Not astrological boxing, but yeah. Although some
Well, it
people might feel
sounds
that.
like it's
Although
like
no,
fun.
actually, some people might probably say that. Some people. I think actually someone actually wrote a testimonial that something along the lines that it felt like a slap, but a kind one. It's like slap in the face, but strangely kind. You know what I
Sounds
mean?
about right.
It's like,
Slap
yeah,
that
no,
you.
seriously.
Yeah.
It's always coming from
Yeah.
a good place. But I've noticed that even with people in my life that I see, my partner just yesterday said, like, your intuition, you've always been intuitive, but like now it's like, whoa, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In some of the observations, he'll ask me about an insight about a situation that he gave me like few words about, and I'll be like, this, you know, it's like, whoa, you know. But again, like, I have no, it's such a weird feeling, Kyle, because it's almost like it's not mine. It's like it's just what's happening. It's not like I am so amazing and it's like my intuition. To me, it's really, it's just something that seems to have expanded after awakening. So so that has changed, in that I'm really not a typical astrologer. So like I'm not gonna go into like planet after planet, you know, like in the book, you know, in kind of textbook. I just basically look at the whole picture, the moving parts, and then I look at the things that stand out to me the most, and then I'll bring that to the table, you know. And there's a lot of intuition that plays part in actually what that is, to see what that actually is. So it's knowledge, very important, but intuition. But like it's like what my own astrology says, you know, I am incredibly intuitive. Anyway, as like from birth, you know, like that's part of my beingness, you know, and that I've always been very intuitive. But now it's been a bit more. But I've noticed that, like, even with people that know me, and you know, certain insights have been like almost like they felt them viscerally.
Right.
That they're so like whoa, like, could you maybe put it slightly like in the milder version?
Oh, really?
Like,
Yeah.
because it will come out in such a way. Like I don't mean to scare. I'm probably not doing very good promo for my readings, I realize.
No, maybe this is
Um,
what people want. They're tired of the
no,
kind
but
of
I actually prefer, but I honestly prefer, like, I would want to know what I'm paying or like what I'm putting
yeah,
myself
exactly.
into, so I'm being, so like I said, I always come from love and no judgment and deep care. So there's
Yeah.
like, but like I said, if someone expects like compliments and being schmoozed for 2 hours and like that,
Mm.
not me, like I
That
said,
yeah. Yeah.
I'm interested in the shadow aspects, in the coping mechanisms, in certain patterns that may be playing out
Yeah.
still, for people, and that sort of stuff. That doesn't mean, it doesn't mean that I'm like always getting everything 100%, or
Mm.
that I don't get things wrong, or but it's been very, very rare. I think I've had only, honestly, a handful of readings where I myself wasn't like 100% happy, but I couldn't really put
Right.
my finger into, because you'd think that the people who come for a reading also will be super open,
Mm.
but some think they are, but only to an
Mm.
extent. And it's
Right.
almost like you can, but some people you can feel, and again, it's innocent. It's not like
Yeah.
they even know, but there's like a wall.
You're right.
There's
Right.
like I want to go there, but I don't really want to go there. And
Yeah.
can we
Yeah.
not talk
Yeah.
about that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So then the reading might not flow, but that is not to say
Yeah.
that sometimes it may be my fault. Maybe I'm
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
feeling too well, or I'm not present enough. There's like all
Yeah.
sorts of things. So I'm not trying to also perpetuate some kind of image of me like I'm so amazing every single time and I get everything right, because it's not
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
But intuition is definitely that, and it's also just like seeing planets, the way I see planets changes, but it has changed.
Right. Okay.
But in a way that it's very difficult for me to it's almost like I feel into them as opposed to
Right.
having a knowledge about what astrology says about those planets. So there's like,
Yeah.
but it's so on such a subtle level that I can't even explain to you what that means. But it definitely impacted my readings. The last one was just amazing to really see. Like, just to give you a quick example, like Saturn in astrology is commonly considered as a planet like that puts like it's where it brings obstacles and
Right.
delays.
Okay.
Yeah, so in other words, it doesn't make anything easy. Just it
Mm.
makes it harder, right? And it was just so amazing. Like, I had this reading and I had this conversation with someone about that, who also knew quite a bit about astrology anyway already. And they knew that, and they started talking about it. And all of a sudden, I'm like, that's bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, here's me, the astrologer, saying, I'm not saying that it is like generally bullshit or anything
Yeah. Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not like trashing the centuries of knowledge about Saturn or anything like that. But
Or maybe you should.
it's but it's a different conversation. It's a different conversation in the context of awakening about
Right.
Saturn,
Yeah. Yeah.
because Saturn can only be seen as an obstacle when you have beliefs about how things should play out,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Exactly. Right.
when, and
Yeah.
more importantly, when.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if it's how things should play out, then Saturn will show you that it has different plans. But like, the only reason why you see this as an obstacle is because you have a different idea about how this should play
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. Exactly.
But also Saturn represents time. So if you see Saturn as delay, you can only see it as a delay if you have
Right.
ideas, your own beliefs and ideas,
Right.
rigid attachment to when anything should
Yeah.
happen in
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
life. So see what I mean? So
That's incredible,
so
right? Because that awakening perspective is because that's the thing, right? There is no actual
yeah,
obstacle in reality,
yeah,
right? There's no
yeah,
only in the mind that has a way of certain
yeah.
things. So like to have that
So
perspective in
even
astrology, yeah.
so even seeing you know, just like depending on sort of level of, let's call it that, I don't really like that term, but I don't have any other term, the level of consciousness, right? That you're looking at something.
Yeah.
You know, even planets to an astrologer starts to look differently, you know?
Yeah, exactly. It's all the
Very,
filters
very
are gone.
different.
Yeah.
And then in my own, because I also look at transits, so that's like another part, but then again, this is like a whole other conversation, because of course people say, well, you predicting future. I'm not predicting future at all. And so I work with transits slightly different as well, you know, because again, I don't come into transits. You know what I'm talking about, right? Transits.
Yeah.
So generally speaking, just like there's a birth chart which shows us where the planets are at the time of our birth, and then there's transits which shows us where the planets are right now, and which areas of life they affect at the moment in our individual charts, right? So I'm looking at the areas of life, I'm looking at the impact of those planets, but like I'm not even interested in, like, I'm not even looking at time as linear. So I look at everything that is happening right now. We can call it past, we can call it future, but like from the point of view that I'm looking at, it's all here right now, everything simultaneously, you know what I mean? So I don't even see linear time, so therefore I cannot predict the future. I don't see it that way. And then do you know what I mean? It's like it just doesn't make any sense to me, you know?
Exactly.
But definitely one of my favorite readings in terms of transits recently has been seeing people who have been through massive shifts, who, what are they currently going through? Because it's like, it's almost, I saw how it shows. For example, I met a person who thought that they kind of worked through things already. And yet all of a sudden they found themselves in like turmoil and suffering. And it's like, they assumed that they were done. And what I'm seeing is like, they are not done at all. Like I would say they're only beginning to like dismantle the process. So they've seen beyond identity, but the identity is only in the process of dismantling, which is why the stuff starts coming up, and you know, things like that. So that's been also fascinating. In I actually I've had a little idea recently. I'm not sure whether I'm going to go with it, but there's one particular person that I met when I was doing the course, and she's now my friend, and I think she's one of the most amazing astrologers out there. Even though she's not like, you know how there are these people that like should be out there and should be famous, but they're not, but they're equally good as those who are. She's like that to me. And I don't know if she will be willing to do this, but I thought that maybe we could try and do maybe like once a month or something like that, just meet people who had awakening and look at their astrology. So like the astrology of awakening.
That would be amazing. Yeah.
I thought that sounds really, to do it, but I would want to do it with someone, because I mean, she is so much better than I am.
But I would be so fascinated by that. Yeah, that would be like so interesting.
Because I could, you know, in retrospect, when I follow my journey of awakening, fucking unbelievable. It's all there. It's all there. You know what I mean? And I know exactly which transits were taking place that I'm not saying, because someone can have the same transits and not experience awakening. So it depends on so many different variables. But in my particular chart, you know, it's been literally like a 12-year journey, which is pretty much when Neptune entered my 4th house, which is ruled by Jupiter, which rules my ascendant and the house of spirituality. So like literally it's been like a 12-year journey of awakening when you think about it, for me. So
So you
when
could
the
see
first
like the
awakening happened.
planetary transits that correlated with the
Yeah, and I
awakening.
can see that, and I can totally see the ones that when the biggest shifts happens, when the shadow work goes happen, and all the really tough parts of the awakening journey happen, I can see why, you know, I can see those transits as well, you know. So I think that that would be interesting to actually get people, like for example, get people like yourself and track together with her the transits, so we can say, okay, like these are the astrology of awakening, basically.
I think that, but honestly,
amazing.
I think it would be amazing because that's such like that's when I got interested in it, was in astrology in the context of awakening, and there's so little people talking about it in that way, and so little content like specifically authentic awakening, you know, like I'm sure everybody thinks they've had awakenings here and there, but
So
I think that's amazing. Like content on that would be amazing.
I think that's definitely something that I'm going to talk to her about, but because I don't think I can't see myself doing it alone, because I think there's incredible benefit to having two people, because believe me, I very rarely look at my own chart, but sometimes I still see things that I've seen for years, and I'm like, oh my God, I can see this now. Like, oh my God, that explains. Or like, oh my God, like, how did I not? Yeah, because it's like you're so into it all the time that it's like when you have another person, they will see the things that you don't see, because just by virtue of just being into it all the time, you know what I mean? So so I'm definitely going to offer this. But I will say that for sure, just like with every modality, there are a lot of bullshitters out there. There are, you know, like there's always the darker side, or the exploitative side, or the deceiving side of every single modality or approach, or like, you know, whatever. So, you know, so like I said, I completely understand why, you know, for example, certain people from like non-dual circles, you know, they will push the stuff away, because a lot of it does focus on personality and doesn't move beyond it at all. In fact, it does keep you in the I am Sagittarius, and I am this and that, and I am an introvert, and I am as if you're this fixed, you know. So I completely understand that, and I agree, you know, that there's lots of, but this is just, I don't even consider it, you know, this, to me, this is like the pop astrology. I don't even consider it astrology, you know. So I completely understand the concerns that some people have. The biggest one I know that has to do with you know, I don't remember now. My point is, I understand the concerns, and I all I'm saying is that explore for yourself, learn about it first, see if you're drawn into it, and if it resonates with you, and if it does, go for it, and if it doesn't, let go. Like nobody needs astrology to survive. You know what I mean? Or nobody needs but it
but
just happens.
Like if I would say, like if it resonates, then don't
Definitely.
then book a session with Maggie.
Oh yeah, of course. Only me.
Only
Only me,
Maggie. I
because
can't
no
recommend any
other
other.
soldiers, like, forget about it. No, but actually it's important, like, explore, because it really might be that I'm like I use Hellenistic astrology as the basis, like the whole sign, and like the basis of my astrology. But I draw from all sorts of things, and I go where I use what my intuition tells me to do, more importantly. You know what I mean? I do what I think, I will use what I think will work for you, and you will benefit the most. Not what's correct.
Exactly.
Right or superior. Like, I don't care about this stuff, you know? So I continue to explore and learn all sorts of things. But it's important to find, just like I had to find an astrology teacher that resonates with me, even though there are so many and so many great ones from different types of astrology. The same goes to finding an astrologer that, you know, resonates with you. And even it's like with every one-on-one relationship, you have to click with the person, right? You have to.
There's no like perfect teacher in this field or that field, other than the resonate. The resonate.
I mean, can you imagine someone coming to me who like hates swearing and like and they come and like I said fuck at least twice during the 2 hour session.
Yeah. That's why, that's the only reason I interview you, is so you can swear.
Exactly. Thank you so much, because it would be suffocating.
No, it's so it was so funny. Actually, I was literally just at the gym with like my brother and some other friends, and in the gym the language is pretty foul, and we're like making jokes and
Yeah.
stuff. And I was like, okay, shit, I need to kind of shift my energy for my interview. I was like, oh wait, it's Maggie. She knows just as much as me. It's amazing.
Oh my God. What sort of example did I become? Oh my God, that's not where I was aiming. This is what you're looking up to? The amount of swearing? Are you
Yeah,
kidding
exactly.
me?
That's what it's
Oh
all
my
about.
God, this is devastating. Um,
Yeah.
I must say, not because I chose to, but I actually swear way less than I used to.
Yeah.
Way less. And actually, the trouble with the word fuck,
Yeah.
in my case, is that I don't see it as a swear word. To me, it's like, I call it like a linguistic enhancer. It's like a linguistic tool where you like want to underline a particular point of view.
Well, that's
Or
the
like,
thing, right?
and also it's like, I just linguistically speaking, I think it's one of the most versatile words. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
it's
incredible how you
true.
can use this one word to like insult someone, or to underline something that's really funny, or like, not to mention like the sexual
Yeah,
stuff and all sorts
exactly.
of other things. I mean, this word alone, I actually
It's actually
read,
incredible.
it's actually incredible. I actually
Sure.
read an article written by a linguist
Oh yeah.
about it, and he brought the multitude of examples of how you can use that word
Yeah.
in so many different contexts, and how it's going to mean very different things. It's incredible. So that's the trouble that and it's really the only swear word that I pretty much use
Yeah.
anyway. And like I said, it's not really a swear word for me, so
Yeah.
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 So nobody should get offended. Yeah, so if you're uncomfortable with swearing, or loud laughter, sense of humor,
Yeah. Very good
then
astrology, great intuition. Yeah, all of
yeah.
those things. And
Yeah,
don't
you
book a
definitely
session.
do a better promo for me than I do for myself. Like, I'll tell you the truth, and it's gonna be painful. And exactly, I'm not like Jesus. That's why I'm not into marketing, and that's why I'm not in life where I should be.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
We need.
basically do a good job discouraging people from having a reading with me rather than having one. But yeah.
Yeah.
No, I love it. I love it. I feel like it's something that just is very natural for me to do, even though,
Yeah.
like I said, years of learning and continuing to learn. So but above all, I think my partner laughs at me because I've been doing this for so long, and I see all the time how in particular when I see people with to see transits, right? And they're telling me things that I'm seeing this in the chart. Like
Yeah.
and I'm like, and I'm just completely, it's like every time I say to my partner, it's mind blowing. It's all there. It's all there.
But that's
it's
like
like
that. Yeah, it's like such a whole nother tool for like using with life, that most people like just don't even realize is there. That
to me,
there's.
this is actually, how let's say non-dual people say, some non-dual people say like, oh, this is like bullshit, and you're predicting things, and like, what is this? It's all an illusion anyway. All sorts. It's actually astounding and quite literally mind-blowing. And I'm telling you, I'm
Yeah.
like a kid. It's like every time, it's like I see it for the first time. It's like, oh my God, it's all. But this
Yeah.
is precisely what huge part of awakening was for me, to realize that it's all there, that everything that happens cannot not happen. Everything that happened before could not have not happened.
Yeah, exactly.
Everything that's happening right now cannot not be happening. And it's
Yeah.
like, I knew that already after the first awakening. but not fully, because there was still an illusion, a belief of being in control, because there was still a sense of me left, of like the separate entity that controls, right? But after the liberation, it was like, it literally brought my mind to a halt. Like it was that movement that ruminates and goes back and forth about things completely stopped. So it's really you know, I've seen it in such a powerful way that the mind stopped arguing with life.
Yeah.
Completely.
Yeah.
You know, and trying to control it, and trying to what I could have, what I should have, and what if, all those movements that I call like the ruminating toward the past or the future came to end completely. You know, that is different to thinking, because of course I can think about the past to write a book about it. I can think about the future to plan my next trip to Thailand. You know, but the ruminating that creates the psychological turmoil, you know, about what I could have, should have, and what if, that ended. So really, when I see transits, I'm seeing the proof of that. That I'm seeing that I'm meeting a person that I've never seen in my life. I have no idea what they're going through, where they live. Okay, I might know where they live. Like Florida, for example, or something like that, you know, and that's it. That's all I know. And then I'm just looking at their transits, and it depends whether I'm telling them and they confirm that this is true, or they tell me and I can literally see it all play out. You know, in the, it's all there. It's all already there. And so that's like, for some people, of course, that's a terrifying thought, because of course people will take it as oh my god, I have no fucking control, so it doesn't matter what I fucking do, and things are gonna happen in that way. Which I completely understand. But believe me, whatever is meant to play out is, even if it doesn't look that way, is actually precisely and much better and more intelligent than anything that we could come up with. So
and it all just
even like I said, go ahead.
It's just all becomes, like, for me, just the way I see things now, is like it becomes just such an exciting mystery in the like you said, like the fact that we can still think and we can still create things, and there's still that, but without the rumination and the should and the shouldn't and the what ifs. It's just like, and it just gets more exciting for me, like that and like you said, also the fact that everything is already there, and then you can just find these different tools that can kind of like unlock that, you know, like the
and it's not at all, I think people really mistake like that with like no control, with like being like a vegetable. It means that like you're not, that means you're just gonna sit and why bother trying? That's you know, that is not the point at all of that. You know, it really just takes the burden of the psychological burden of having to constantly try to control life
exactly.
away. But life happens, things are done. You know, it's like I'm pretty sure that this was with you when we were talking, like ever since that sense of self dissolved, I am way more focused and way more productive than I've ever been. You know,
exactly.
I mean?
You do way more. Where's the mind thinks
I do way more.
Exactly.
I do think there are things that used to, okay, this is like a lame example, but like even stupidest things of like daily life, where let's say we go back from holiday and my toilet, my bathroom was blocked. And I would normally be like, oh my God, blocked toilet. And like I would immediately tell my partner to deal with it.
There'd be all the resistance to
anything
it
to do with bank. My printer went, and you know, any tech stuff, like, oh my God, you know, you have to like and I was like on a mission. I was like sorting things out. I was swearing for 2 hours, but I sorted out that printer when the paper goes. The toilet unclogged. 5 YouTube videos how to unclog the toilet later, and it's not only unclogged, it's like squeaky clean, like new toilet, due to the amount of bicarbonate soda and all sorts of things. I'm kidding, but honestly, there used to be a lot of helplessness, funnily enough. So even though there was a sense of like I'm in control apparently here, you know,
Yeah,
there
then it
was
has the flip
so
side
much.
of
There was the flip side of that, which was massive helplessness around daily activities, like even oh my god, banking, like anything to do with banking, anything to do with taxes, like oh my god, you know, paralysis, you know what I mean? Like
exactly.
whereas now I don't even know why that was a problem ever. You know what I mean? It was just like I just deal with it, and if I don't know how to deal with it, I ask.
Yeah, exactly.
But the
There's
whole drama
yeah,
around it
yeah,
that used to happen, or not to mention, you know, things like, oh my god, I could have done it, and why didn't I go and do this degree? And why, you know, like there's this, oh my god, it's such a fucking hilarious meme with this like black and white old picture from like these old movies from like 50s, where this like woman lies in her bed trying to sleep but can't, with like eyes wide open.
Oh yeah,
and
yeah.
she's like, and someone says, that's me wondering why I didn't say this in 1993 to this person.
Oh yeah.
3 a.m. Me wondering why I didn't say this to this person in
Yeah.
1993 at like whatever
Yeah,
Friday, 22nd or
It's
something,
like you
know?
yeah, you almost like it's so funny. Like and this sounds like it's but you just kind of forget that the mind used to operate like that. I don't know, for me, like that whole rumination thing, it just feels
Yeah,
so like I don't know, and it hasn't even been
yeah,
that long ago, but just that, it's like, yeah, shit, that stuff used to like keep me up at nights, and
yeah.
they can still, you know, I still don't sleep very well some nights, but
Oh
it's
yeah,
like
you
that.
definitely don't sleep well. Yeah. I know that from your child.
Really?
Yes. Yeah.
Really? That's
Yeah.
crazy, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
sleep
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah. Restless, very restless sleep. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Oh.
interesting. But
Um,
yeah, that whole rumination thing, it's just like it's so
yeah.
unnecessary eventually. Yeah, but
Yeah, and I think one of the reasons why I also like doing astrology, and the fact that I'm seeing people from various, you know, from different walks of life. So like not just people who are into non-duality or awakening, but all sorts, you know, different ages, different even cultural backgrounds, you know, different like financial, you know,
yeah,
economical,
yeah,
whatever
yeah.
status and stuff like that, right? It's because I can so easily see how it would be so easy to forget. And I did, because like I told you, you know, I for example don't remember genuinely what it means to feel separate, what it means to experience separation, what it means to see myself as a separate solid entity in control. I have no idea what that means
Yeah,
anymore.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
in the experience, like you know, I just
Yeah.
don't remember what that felt like. So when I'm seeing, you know, people from all walks of life, you know, it's such a, you know, that I'm not a big fan of the word humble, because there's just so much like, you know, having to be humble that
Mm,
comes with that.
mm,
Um, but it's very humbling. It's very humbling, you know, to see how much suffering is out there.
yeah.
Not just in terms of like external circumstances that some people have had to live through horrific things, you know, like
Yeah,
in
it's
the
true. Yeah.
external world, right? So that's one. Then the impact it had on them. I honestly, that's another reason why I'm so lucky that the people that I'm seeing, that some people had so tough that I sometimes have to stop myself from. You can see, like, I've seen things that people have been through and suffered so much
Yeah, yeah.
that, like, I sometimes will have, like, I get emotional with them, you
Yeah.
know, or just
Yeah.
seeing stuff, because it's astounding the what some people have been through, and
Yeah.
the human resilience, you know,
Yeah.
and how they came out of it even without much help, you know,
Yeah.
from like
Yeah.
maybe therapist or, you know, whatever. So the people that I'm seeing, you know, that thankfully they like don't think, oh, how professional of her to like, you know, tear up or get emotional.
Yeah.
Thankfully, you know, because like
But
I
I
mean,
think,
and
yeah.
I wouldn't blame. I quite frankly, I wouldn't blame. I don't expect anybody to be okay with that, by the way. But it just I can't help it, you know. I see it
Well,
and it's
yeah,
like I feel it so deeply.
yeah, for me it would be the complete opposite, where it's like that connection is so real that like it when that showing
Yeah.
of emotion, that kind of authenticity, like
No, honestly, you just I cannot tell you how many times, and in particular after I had the experience of emptiness and the whole heart opening that happened with that, you know, oh my God. I mean, it was compassion on steroids, you know what I mean? Like there was actually a period of time where I didn't even do readings because I could not feel somebody's suffering as though it was mine.
yeah.
And while I didn't have a problem with that myself, because there's no resistance to it or anything like that, you know, I didn't want to like start sobbing for half an hour during the 2-hour session that they're paying
Yeah,
me
when you're
for.
feeling the pain.
It's like with my Kleenex, you know, and like, you know, like, yeah, like, I mean, yeah. So I genuinely had to stop for a while because the feeling of everything that the person has been through was so powerful, you know, that I would have to cry for like, you know, like I said, half a session, you know, before I said anything, you know. So you know,
Paying for a
useful.
crying session.
Yeah, or the client supporting me through this. Like, it's gonna be
Did you need some
okay.
help?
Shall we look at your transits?
What's going on with you?
Too happy with what's going on. Yeah. No, but really, it was so visceral. You know, the heart opening was so massive. You know, that I really didn't want to expose. I wanted to basically carry everybody's. I wanted everybody to give me their suffering,
Right.
and now carry the thing
Yeah.
and like give it,
Yeah.
and you know you're gonna be fine.
Yeah.
That's I was happy to volunteer, you know.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
it was that much, it was such a massive heart opening that I really felt like I could carry the pain of the entire world and my heart wouldn't break. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how massive this was. Now it's I'm actually really grateful that with all the shifts, because so often, you know, I'm sure you know that we talked about the lack of compassion, you know, that
Yeah.
comes
Yeah.
with yeah. And the lack of compassion is very much part of the process of awakening, by the way.
Yeah.
I think it's something that people have to go through, but maybe not everybody, but many people do.
Yeah. I think. Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
for me, it's like I'm so glad that my compassion remained. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not it's not out of control anymore like it was for a while after the heart opening, but it's very much still there. And I can't tell you how I'm so grateful because I came across and seen and heard of people who are just so, you know, like after the shifts, after powerful awakenings, they are so detached,
Yeah.
you know, emotionally.
Yeah.
And I've had a taste of that for years. So,
Yeah.
and that
But
feels to me like living in prison and
I always feel
suffocating, you know?
that's so incomplete, you know, like there's a
Yeah.
reason. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
when it
For
is,
sure.
then how can you not feel the kind of compassion for everyone? Because it's just you like going through a different story, you know, and like,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
But there again, there's like, it's funny because even the compassion goes through awakening, you know? It's like I can
Yeah. Yeah.
literally
Yeah.
see my going from being naturally compassionate, not super overly compassionate, but like, you know, although there was a stage in my life in my teens where it was to my detriment, where I
Yeah.
would, for example, you know, I should have studied for exams, but a friend called
Yeah.
because they needed
Yeah.
help, and I would literally throw everything and
Yeah.
run to help. You know
I
what I
did the
mean?
same.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, but this was mostly during my teenage years.
Yeah.
I mean, I've always been a very interesting mixture of being incredibly compassionate and incredibly selfish simultaneously. That's you know, like
Yeah.
really about certain
Yeah.
things. So actually, one of my ex-boyfriend told me that to my face once, and he was right. I was offended at the time, but he
Yeah,
was
I'm sure you
actually
didn't
very
agree with
right.
him at the time.
No, I definitely, I was massive. It was an insult. You know, me selfish never.
Never, can't
Um,
be.
never. You know, and then first awakening, and compassion was almost like gone after first
Right.
awakening,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
worse and worse and worse. We talked about it, detached.
Yeah.
Then there was a compassion of like on steroids
Yeah.
after the experience of emptiness, and now it's like, um it's just a nice amount.
Yes, yes,
It's
yes,
just,
exactly.
but I'm just so happy that it's there because,
Yeah.
um, yeah, because it's wonderful.
Yeah.
It's just such a wonderful
Yeah.
feeling to feel, to have had those shifts and those awakenings where you do sort of transcend the humanness, right? I
Yeah.
mean, let's
Yeah.
face it, right?
Yeah.
But but you go back and you very much remain
Yeah.
human, and you main that you keep that compassion, you know, as
Yeah.
well, which
Yeah.
is amazing, you know,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it
Exactly.
would be just so dry and boring,
Yeah. But I
quite
feel like that's
frankly.
like I've thought of like the whole thing of like transcending the human, and then like that's the whole point of it, because it's like, we're like we chose this as like whatever
Yeah,
reality or whatever, like we chose
yeah,
this expression of reality to be a human with all
yeah,
of the human shit.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it's like there's the transcendence to realize that that's not like all that you are, and but that's what you chose to be living, or
yeah,
like I don't know, just
yeah,
like that need to transcend the human. And like once you've transcended the human, then you just want to fully like, or that's what I always like. I think that's what I started to notice more and more, and I loved your stuff on that as well. Is like the fully embracing of the
yeah.
entirety of the humanness, because like, and because it's so beautiful, like that
I mean,
compassion and all the aspects of the human. Yeah,
yeah, I mean, you actually, it comes a point where you like you do the full sort of circle, so to
yeah,
speak, and then you can't even speak of embracing anything
yeah,
because
yeah,
there's no sense of me to embrace anything.
yeah,
It's all that's left. It's
yeah, yeah, yeah.
the humanness in its fullness.
Yes,
But because of all those shifts, it's a saner way of living. You know,
yeah,
it's
yeah, exactly.
the sanest version
Yeah,
of being human
yeah,
that I believe we were designed kind of
yes,
to
exactly.
always be.
Yeah,
But even that is only partially true because even the so-called things that diverted us from the conditioning or like whatever, that too is part of all of this. So,
exactly.
you know what I
It's
mean?
like
It's not
a
like,
role in the process as well. Yeah,
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 exactly.
exactly.
But one of the words that you use that I love, also, which was also a byproduct of liberation, it was really seeing the mystery of it all.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
the idea that, and this was the most humbling of the moments in my, there
yeah,
have been
yeah.
many humbling moments in my awakening journey, believe me. But this one was the most, that ultimately this is that if there's anything ultimate, it's that it's the mystery, you
Yeah,
know,
exactly.
and to even talk about like the ultimate reality, and or someone even defining what the ultimate reality is just so laughable to
Mm,
me,
mm,
because everything was seen as like this, it was knowable in a kind of intimate way, but not known in terms of that you
mm,
could nail
mm,
it or you could
mm,
define it as anything and so on, you
mm,
know. So that was incredible because the mystery of that also translated onto the way I saw the trajectories of other people's lives.
mm.
That I had ideas about what I
Yes,
thought was
exactly,
good for
right.
people.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
because I think this person should do this, and I think that it would be best if they, and it would be better if that person was like, and it was like, I remember thinking, standing there and thinking, who the fuck do you think you are?
Yeah.
Like the idea
Yeah,
that
exactly.
how the fuck do you are that you think that you have any idea about the mystery of the trajectory of one person's life,
Yeah.
whether this is your sister or best friend, or
Yeah.
I mean, it was like, I mean, this is like the pinnacle of fucking arrogance, you know,
Yeah.
on my that belief of that separate little me that knows anything about this mystery and can like preach and tell people, you know, what's best for them, and including those attempts to like fix the world and make it a better place. And I'm not even saying that this is like, I'm not saying that this is per se, I'm not saying there's anything inherently wrong with any of that, or that we should not do anything, because that can be so easily misconstrued.
Yeah, exactly.
But like there's so much that feeds into this idea that you know, we're in control of this mystery, you know.
Yeah,
you know what I
exactly.
mean? So
Yeah.
yeah, that's been amazing. So even though I understand about astrology and I see the chart and I understand the planet and blah blah blah, you know, honestly, what I'm looking at every single time when I see someone's chart is mystery. Ultimately, I'm looking at mystery, and just like this massive, infinite creative potential in motion. So there's literally nothing static, or I personally don't see anything static or fixed about chart, because I'm just seeing multiple potentials of things playing out depending on where you're at in life and how you sort of the consciousness from which you're looking at things evolves and stuff like that, you know, and that is up for change all the time, you know what I mean? So yeah, amazing, absolutely amazing.
Amazing. I think let's call it there.
So 3 hours, oh my god.